All right, so today's subject is aging in practice, and there's good news because that's a good combination. All right, and don't forget that. The yoga it's like as if built for helping you age gracefully and agreeably and powerfully. So practical things. So I have a whole bunch of stuff to talk to you about today. Whew. I mean, it's a big subject, right? And so here we go. What I said right at the beginning, just that aging and practice go together. That's practical. All right, and see, I can't stick to my script. I'm already, and partly I tell you that because people, and I'm talking about asana specifically. Okay, like, of course there's all the limbs. And in fact, that's part of aging, is to expand, just naturally expand outwards from asana and breathing, pranayama, limbs 3 and 4 in both directions. So towards 5, 6, 7, 8 steps, limbs, and then towards limbs 2 and 3. But at the same time, feel like I'm surrounded by, maybe it's just my own mind, but no, but it's not. It's come across it so often. People that practice hatha yoga, somehow subtly or not subtly putting asana down, like as though it's a shallow thing. It's like something you have to graduate from as you get older, or you become more mature, or you understand more about yoga. Then you don't think asana is important anymore, or certainly it drops. The priority drops because you're thinking about samadhi or the yamas or some kind of other thing of bhakti or chanting, right? Or breathing. Almost anything else besides asana. You know, like asanas for the young, for the immature. And I'm telling you, no. That David is not, at 59 years old, I'm telling you that's not the way. Maybe I'm going to change. In 5 years I'll get it. Or something, or 10 years. But for me, partly one of the keys to aging in practice is to understand that I wrote a little poem, and it's a little bit harsh at the beginning, but I'm sorry, I get kind of bummed at this, like, people that, like, you can understand people that don't do asana, putting it down, but people doing it, it's like teachers and stuff. It's like, you guys, come on, this is our subject. So here's my poem. So I go, protect your asana garden. Protect your asana garden. Okay? from different beasts who would want to break down the fences and come nibble away all the delicious fruits of your efforts. Okay, so whenever anyone puts down asana, tells you about some other better, more advanced branch of yoga, like another limb, chanting, bhakti, or philosophy, that's ignorance speaking. That's a robber who doesn't love any subject enough. Any subject. And that's trying to steal away your fire. Okay? Go ahead. Dive into the world of asana. There's far more than one lifetime worth of the greatest golden knowledge to be had. Knowledge equal to any that can be found in any branch of yoga. Asana ki jai. Right? So this is one of the things about, this is one of the practical things about aging, is that, so you take like the primary series, okay? And people, they tend to think that, it's a very common thought, like an almost automatic thought, that that series is the end of the asana exploration, right? So that when you come up to any pose, it's like, and that's it. This is how I do Navasana. When I come to Navasana, I go up there for 5 breaths. I lift up in between. I do it 5 times. And that is the end of Navasana. And I can tell you for sure, that is only the beginning. Literally, it's just every pose in that series, it's like, it's almost like the picture on the cover of the book. Right? You've got to go in there, delve into that thing. Every one is a whole world. And what's so cool is, as a youth, what's so interesting, actually, it's kind of a dual thing. When you're younger, rarely does a younger person really delve into it, even though their body is fit and able. And then you get older, and your body isn't fit. It isn't as fit or able, but you are. Your mind and your spirit and your orientation. Okay, and so this is a couple of things like what I have on my list of practical things. It comes in this context that I'm just now telling you. Okay, so one is to become very curious, boundlessly curious about the basics. Okay, and remember, so what I encourage you to do is see Ashtanga as a Hatha yoga template. Okay, it's a template, and the template is like a sandwich. Okay, so the Surya Namaskara standing are on one end, and then finishing is at the other end. And then in the middle is whatever series. Okay, and so that's your template, and you're seeing those chunks. Okay, and so as you age, this kind of perspective on it is really helpful, because then you don't need to do. See, the other way to think about it, if you don't think about it as a template or in chunks, then all you're left with is, when I get on my mat, I do first series. And that's that. And then if I somehow can't do first series, or then what? I'm stuck. Right? So you got to kind of, to age is to get a meta perspective. It's to be able to see the practice from a bird's eye view. All right? So that it's not first series. No, it's that, for one, it's these chunks. And then you realize that, for one, that the chunks are, you don't have to do every single posture in every chunk every day. Oh! You can do some. So you don't have to do 5 Surya Namaskara A, 5B. You can do so many different possibilities there. So many different possibilities with standing poses. Okay, and as you age, you're able to understand the value of the template as a home base, as a foundation, as a beginning point. Okay, and then you expand and customize and pick and choose. Okay, and one other little piece of the puzzle in this is that, actually, before I go to that piece of the puzzle, I'm going to quote you from an amazing text on Hatha Yoga that the Yoga Rahasya. Okay, and it's a text that Krishna Macharya comes from his lineage, Pattabhi Joyce's teacher. Okay, and so he's talking. So so for one thing, all of this is not just for fun, for the heck of it, right? That this is serious, okay? And on every level, okay? So what you've got with your practice, your Hatha Yoga practice, is a very important human technology for physical health, for mental power, mental focus, perception, like contemplation, and then for spiritual realization. Okay, and so I'm going to just read you a few of the shlokas from this that pertain to the physical aspect of yoga. So it says, first, what it says, on account of the differences in the individual bodies, places, occupations, and seasons, human beings are stricken with many kinds of diseases through association with these differences in bodies, places, occupations, right? Climates. And so then it says, the next one, it is certain that all these diseases can be warded off by the practice of Ashtanga Yoga. It goes bold, all these diseases. Whoa. if the body as a whole or in parts is not healthy and well, the passage goes on, where is the question of dhyana, the seventh limb, or performing one's duty? So it's going right, very heavy, fast, right? And then it says, so it says, and it gives you this, those illnesses which cannot be cured by other methods can be cured by the steady practice of yoga asanas. Right? And what's amazing is if you really have that strong asana practice from in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, you're avoiding illnesses that you don't even know that you're avoiding because you're doing that. Okay, and of course, these texts often exaggerate. Okay, it doesn't mean you're never going to get sick because you do yoga. Or that if you do get sick, you're going to be able to cure it with yoga. Okay, but what it is saying is there's power there. There's healing power. And it's very manual. It's you doing it, right? It's not, you're not taking something in from the outside that's going to bring side effects. It's you. It's a very organic, very foundational kind of human a way to create health and well-being and sustain it. Okay? So, and then just a few more, because this is really important right here, what's coming. Because like, I don't know if you guys see my Instagram, but somebody asked that question, if I modify the heck out of it, is it still Ashtanga? And I said, hell yeah. You don't forget that. And what's so funny is that you could argue it the opposite way. Not only is it still Ashtanga, it's not Ashtanga if you don't modify the heck out of it. You understand? Yeah. And this text is telling you, okay, so it's saying before yoga is taught, the teacher should consider the time, surrounding, age, nature of employment, energy and strength of the person, and their power of comprehension. Okay, so the process of yoga must be done by a learned person who has self-control. Okay, and then it says, owing to the differences in the body structure, all asanas are not meant for everybody. Okay? For in reality, people are stout, lean, crooked, lame. Right? So many different. So great sages, having examined the needs of all types of people, proposed many asanas. Okay, among them, whatever is suitable must be understood, and the appropriate asanas must be taught. Okay, so just remember, we've got these series, it doesn't mean that everyone has to practice it always in the same order, the same poses. No. Okay, and this is how you age, by embracing this and taking advantage of like learning the technology. Okay, and one of the ways is this template that I'm telling you. Okay, and And when I said you become boundlessly curious about the basics, and the basics are at either end of the template. Okay, many of you know I did Surya Namaskara for 10 years before I learned any other yoga. Okay, Surya Namaskara has everything. Okay, so that you want to, it's not just 5 and 5. That will not teach you everything Surya Namaskara has to offer, even if you do it for 20 years. I mean, that would be an accomplishment, don't get me wrong, to do 10 Surya Namaskara every day for 20 years. But there's more if you want it. Like, there's so much to it. You can build, I do whole practices, 2 hours, that are basically weird things having to do with Surya Namaskara. And when I say weird things, I'm not joking. Okay, and this is one of my keys for aging. Let me see if I can find it. I didn't know if I was going to admit it to you, but I practice with music, weights, exercise bands, all kinds of props, anything that will get me enjoying, paying attention, interested, exploring. Okay, and that's not just some flippant thing. Okay, and I would say it would be valid even if it was a flippant thing, but it's not. And I'm hoping that this might be like a 3-hour talk. You guys ready? Because this is one of the things you learn about with aging, which is that, so repetition is such a good ally in a way, right? That just the discipline, right? It's such a key ingredient to the discipline of yoga, right? The consistency. And yet, repetition is almost positively evil for the human being when it's done ad nauseum. Right? Or you put it the other way, that when variety, newness, that feeds the everything, feeds the physical body, feeds the mind, feeds the creativity, feeds the spirit. Right, so this is part of what you like, and see, you discover it, okay? Because when you take a practice like Ashtanga, it's so repetitive. 6 days a week, you keep doing the same thing. Well, you learn that the body doesn't like it. Or it's funny because I feel like, or it's a battle, kind of. Parts of you like it. Parts of you become fully attached to it, as a matter of fact, right? But then also partly it breaks you down. And it is one of the reasons that I really teach that you practice, you repeat only what you want to reinforce. Okay, because repeating the wrong thing, it doesn't lead to doing the right thing. And as you age, you really watch that play out. You experience it in your own body. And at first, when you're younger, you can't feel those consequences. Okay, and so the sooner you get hip to it, though, the better off you are. Okay, and this is why I'm saying be inventive, create variety. And working with this, so you got this, it's not, okay, so I want to expand on this template idea and those chunks, okay? So then, aside from that, you've got categories of asanas, okay? And this, as you age, I encourage you to see this. Like, you've got, the big ones are like standing poses, seated poses, forward bends, back bends, twists, and then you've got, or hip openers, right? Inversions, okay? And then you've got overlapping category postures. So you've got inversions that are back bends that are, or you know what I'm saying, like Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana. So it's a hip opening posture, right, and a forward bend. And so there, you've got these combinations. Okay, and so you can think in those terms. And customize according to the category. You can focus on a certain category or avoid a certain category as is suitable to your circumstances, and just in terms of exploration. Okay, and then with Ashtanga, see, so Ashtanga gives you that template, which is so beautiful. Okay, so you know that when you step on your mat, you're going to do something to do with Surya Namaskara, something to do with standing, something to do with one of those series, and something to finishing as your general idea. And of course, you could deviate from it, but at least that gives you this base, right? Perfect. Okay, but then this I also want you to think about, and I've said it to you many times now, and especially if you're in my classes. Okay, what Ashtanga's contribution to Hatha yoga, to me, is vinyasa. Okay, so before Ashtanga came around, you mainly just had asana. Okay, that there wasn't poses, that this rhythm and this flow and this linking together of poses with other poses. But it's more even kind of focused than that. Because those vinyasa positions in Ashtanga, they're all set. So what they do is they set you up to go into the pose. Okay, so what Ashtanga did is basically tell you that transitioning is as important as being in the pose itself. Right? So this is really big, you guys. Okay, so you have these two ways you're thinking of developing and perfecting and studying. You're looking at the transition into the pose and the pose itself. Okay, and if you don't learn this lesson from Ashtanga, you diminish what you can explore as you age. Okay? Or you can put it the other way. If you embrace the idea of that this whole idea of the movement into the pose is just as important as the pose itself, then a whole dimension, like a 50% dimension, is open to you. 50%? Now you don't only have like being in this yoga pose as what you're thinking about or drawing on to gain knowledge. No, now you've got this whole other idea that there's and remember the way I phrase it, it's on purpose, so that every transition, vinyasa is the art of crouch and spring. Okay, and this is when you do the primary series without even knowing what you're doing, you're learning the crouch and spring because you're doing it time and again. But the aging part is to become aware of that process. Okay, and then start to individualize it. Start to customize, and so this is another aspect of aging. Okay, so individualizing, it's a code word, you guys. Okay, for the most part, it means knowing how to make it easier. Okay? And of course it means knowing how to make it harder. But so much of aging is about, limitation increasing. Okay, and so you've got to have an answer to that, to these increasing limits. And what the answer is knowing how to make poses easier one step at a time. Okay, and then it's the reverse, knowing how to start from easy and go hard, go more and more difficult, more challenging, and how to start from either very challenging or where you are and go easier. Okay, so it doesn't become all or nothing. So, because to me, it's not just like I used to try to jump back or jump through, but now I don't do that anymore. I'm too old. No, there's all kinds of phases of those things that you can do until you're 90 if you want. Okay, and then also it's a mentality, the crouch and spring. So that when going from samasthitihi and reaching your arms up, that's a crouch and spring. Bringing your arms down. Okay, so this is partly how you age in the practice. You get this meta perspective on your transitions, And then you know how to make a version of every transition that you do. A dynamic version, a version that calls forth breath, that has a rhythmic movement involved in it. Skill in action. Okay, and when I say the basics, right? Really delve into the basics. I mean learn to delight in the poses that don't involve extension or flexion or rotation of the spine. Okay? Neutral. Dig neutral. And then also learn to see the setup poses. So like when you're, right, every time before you do a forward bend, so Janu Shirshasana, right? You lift up and then fold. And when you come out, you lift up. Right? So you want to research those setup positions very deeply if you want to age gracefully. Okay, and it's funny. I don't know if this talk is practical to you, if you're feeling it's practical. I'm sorry if it's not. I'm trying. But it's tricky. Because these are all practical statements I'm making, but they require some context and so I hope you're grokking it. But okay, so here's a tip that actually I have two. I have actually a lot more than two. So remember last week when I talked to you about Sutra Chapter 248. Tato dvandva anabhigataha. And dvandva is pairs of opposites, right? And anabhigataha is a negative word. So it's to cease to ward off, or to cease to avoid contradiction and opposites. And if you put it in another way, it's to embrace the fight. Okay, and so so that there's this constant kind of tension happening as you get older, and like that Picasso, he likened it like that. To get old is to have your wind in your face the whole time. It just never stops coming in your face, right? But somehow, if you want to keep aging in practice, you're not constrained by that. Okay, and like one thing is there's a loosening up. You loosen up. And this is what I mean by, like, I'll practice with music or do something different. Just not be so attached to it all. in a way. I mean, a more free-spirited, more enjoyment, and doing poses you like. And yet, at the same time, I'm more serious, okay, about like what I read to you from the Yoga Rahasya, right? That this is serious, and I know how serious it is, how vital it is to my my path. Okay, so there's a looseness. And yet, at the same time, there's this deep commitment and devotion and earnestness, and very determined. The determination and the patience is there. So I want to tell you another thing about aging that I've been talking a little bit about it in my social media and in my classes. It's what I call the swarupa, the essence, the intrinsic essence that you're seeking for every pose. Okay, and it's part of that idea about these steps. Okay, that every pose, you're working to get the skill to break the pose down into steps. Okay, and the idea of this essence of the pose is what's helping you to break that posture into steps. Okay, and like I did this Asana Kitchen live yesterday on Matsyasana where I discussed this. And so for me, and it's, it's a game you play with yourself. I mean, who knows what the essence of the pose is? But you play the game of it, of wondering and thinking about it. It's like, what about this pose what is the deepest kernel that makes that pose, right? And so for Matsyasana, for the fish pose, for me, it's that grounded seat and this leaning back and opening the chest. Okay, so that is the essence. And so when you have that knowledge that what is the essence of what I'm trying to do, then you could do it in so many different ways. And because you're gonna, and that's part of the game. It's like, how can I get that essence? And then also, you guys, Tara, Kirk, Colin, all of you. So then you're also able to see that if you don't find the essence of the pose, then you're not understanding that pose, or you're doing too advanced of a version that doesn't allow you to reveal that essence. Okay, and so the Yoga Rahasya, it's telling you in the most general terms, when it says, owing to the differences in body structure, that all the asanas are not meant for everybody. And then when it also says that when they examined the needs of everybody, they came up with all these asanas. Okay, well, This is what I'm talking about. And it's versions of asanas. Okay, so it's not just like either you're good to do that pose or you're not. No, there's versions. Okay, and you just want to make sure that you have a suitable version. And so I didn't want to redo this statement, but I'm going to because getting this knowledge is not easy. Okay, and so it does say that the student must learn the appropriate practice from the guru. And the student does this not only for their own benefit, but also to share the knowledge with others. And the thing is that one way or another, you have to get this knowledge. Okay? And if you can't get it on your own, you've got to get it from a teacher. Okay? So this ability to really customize with individual circumstances that increase in limitation over time. Right? This is aging. Okay, and like I read you that gnarly poem at the beginning. And the thing is me, I have no problem with somebody taking up a chanting practice or moving into pranayama and doing less asana. That's a perfectly fine choice that is very suitable for some folks. Okay? I'm just saying, don't try to take away my asanas if I don't want them to be taken away. Okay? And this is you. You got to decide. I'm speaking to you from the perspective of if you want to keep your practice going, you can, and this is how to do it. You don't have to. Of course not. You're free to, and you can learn yoga in so many ways. Okay, and but going deep into the subject of asana for your whole life is one of the ways. And it's tapas. Okay, it's hard. This is not easy. You have to deal with the increasing headwind. But if you have the resources, you got the knowledge and the skill and the courage, you can do it. All right, so I'm going to go into, to finish this, So it's like two themes in one. Okay, so that what we've been talking about, or kind of dancing around, is that this practice that you've taken up. It goes from collective to individual. Okay, so it starts off that you just start learning Ashtanga. You start doing the series like everybody else. Okay, but the further you go, the more it's individual. And this is the path of yoga. And this is the path of life. And it's paradoxical in the sense that if you're advancing on a spiritual path, you're both individuating, so you're becoming more the unique person that you are meant to be or are, that uncovering of your uniqueness as a person is happening. But then there's this universalization. There's this feeling of being connected to the whole at the same time. Okay, and so this is the process that you're going through. And so it's happening on the physical level in your asana practice, right? The further you go, the more it's your own. And you're making these choices about what and how to practice. But then it's within your person. It's like you take more responsibility, more ownership of your own life, your choices, and what you're doing, what you're putting your energy into, and what kind of experiences you want to have while you're alive. Okay, and the opinions of others become less important. Right? And not just as a natural thing. It's not a rebellion. It's the natural course of things. And something to embrace. And something to really celebrate and enjoy about your journey. So you having the insight and the power, the strength to go your way, right? And then sort of parallel to this conversation, then this little thread, is this idea of repetition. Okay, and where does this practice aspect come into the equation? Okay, and so it's so interesting that the word it's in yoga it's strange because it's a bad word, samskara. Okay, so it means impression or groove. So it means kind of like something you repeat and you're kind of stuck in it, right? And so and it's associated with illusion, with to be caught in the illusion, and to be like identified with material things like your body and like to resist aging and things like that. That it's all like samskaric, and so that practice is supposed to be purifying, supposed to make you more spontaneous, right? Less caught in the grooves of your habitual responses to things. And the funny thing, though, is that the word is a very positive word. It actually means, sam is like, samastitihi is balanced or perfect, complete. And kata is making. So it's making complete, making perfect. So it means refining or polishing, making sacred, making ready, forming well. And it means putting together, like a sacrament. Okay, and so to me, this is part of aging. It's to actually flip the word and your relationship to samskara from a negative thing, right? From compulsive repetition that's spent on attachment and things in the worldly sense, to this making like your posture sacred, your practice sacred, your actions sacred, like your whole your movement through your life. It becomes this forming well, perfecting. And I love that there's making sacred. So it's not mundane. Or it's not only mundane. Okay, it's fine to have ordinary worldly enjoyment. But then you're also able to see it. It's going to a deeper, more profound, meaningful direction. Okay, and the word is also, I love this. It has preparing and making ready. Okay, so, and to me, one thing you're preparing for, your exit. Your death. So you want to have lived well so that you're ready to die when that inevitable time comes. Okay, and so that, but then what's so beautiful is that the crouch, okay, the crouch, this vinyasa is to make ready. Nandini. See, this is why I insist that you set up your Pincha Mayurasana. And don't mistake, the discipline and the philosophy are the same. If you prepare your vinyasa, you're preparing to die like a sage. Whoa! Yeah. Okay, and then within this, there's another word. It's called vasana. It's like a synonym for samskara, but it has some different meanings that I want to point out to you. So, and it means impression of anything remaining unconscious in the mind, just like samskara, impression. Okay, but it also means it means inclination, liking, longing for, thinking of, desiring, wishing. Okay, and so you could say that the vasana is you know how when you come out of the womb into the world, you're such a bright little cherub, rosy cheeks, such an angelic looking And then the rah starts. And so we don't come out, we're not coming out as angelic beings. No, we come out with certain likings, certain desires already. Okay, and this is vasana, and it's called, it also, the word, it's a tailoring word. It means like clothing, garment, a covering. And so what you can say is that we have all these coverings of desires, wishes, things we long for. And they range from superficial, very shallow desires. But they get increasingly deep and profound. And you can say that the word Dharma, okay, Dharma, it means attribute, nature, peculiarity, and it means to become. Just that, to become. Okay? And so here you are with your practice. Your asana practice and your life practice. And really what you're doing is taking those garments, those outer thoughts, outer wishes, outer desires, and casting them off. And you're trying to get to the swarupa, to the intrinsic essence. And this is Dharma. What is that part of you that makes you the entirely unique being? And see, this is aging well. And this is aging in practice, is to take more specific, active interest in who you are becoming. Okay, and it's a very interesting state of affairs that it's rare or non-existent to take interest in who you are becoming when you're 28. It's a process that develops. And everyone's different. I don't know. I can't say that. I'll just say everybody's different. Certainly for me, I'm like, thank God I made it around for 59 years. Because these last few have been very important. And I imagine the process is going to continue. And so in a way, like karma, that part of aging is to turn karma. Karma is, and I don't mean karma like we think of it in the West. I mean in a very broad way. Just work. Karma is work. That's one definition of it. Okay, so, this is what we do. We do so much work. We're trying so hard. But Dharma is good work. It's actually work that's headed in the direction we want to go. That takes time. And this is your practice. You see, this is your practice. If you be loyal to that practice, it pays off. It starts to give you that. It starts to help you to turn work into good work. And then last, yeah, I've actually already said it to you, but there's an official Sanskrit word for self-realization, kaivalya. Okay, so that it means isolation or detachment from all other connections. And this is that process of individuation I'm talking about. And listen to this word. See, this is an incredible word. Okay, it means these two things at the same time. Okay, it means perfect isolation and perfect isolation and absolute unity. Yes! There it is. Identification with the Supreme Spirit is kaivalya. And then also it's leading to eternal happiness and emancipation. So, and hopefully as we age, we can start to entertain ideas and take these ideas more seriously. And then, I'm sorry, this really is the last thing. All right, so the thing is that it's a returning back to the source. Or it's a completing of the cycle. Okay, so conception, birth, living, dying. Okay, so aging is, and there's so many mini cycles of that, but there's also one big. And so to age is to complete the cycle. Right? And so in a way the whole idea of living is going way out there somehow. But the idea of dying is to come back right to the source. Okay? And coming back to the source there's something very practical about that I'm sharing with you to end this. And they have an official name for it in the yoga practice. It's called Dharma Mudra. It's an actual practice. So Dharana is the sixth limb, means concentration. And mudra is a seal, energetic seal. So it's like this very focused contemplation of dharana mudra of the bhutas. Okay, bhutas are earth, water, fire, air, and space. Okay, so these five ingredients, they make the whole world. Okay, so the world has zillions of forms, but you can reduce those zillions of forms to 5 roots. Okay, and the yogi contemplates those 5 deeply. And the yoga asana siddha, the master of asana, knows how to play with earth, with the wind, fire, with space. Remember all the talking I've done with you about kachadi and sukha, the space. Okay, this is how you age, is to deeply connect with those elements in your practice. Thank you for joining me for this video. So this September, I'm doing an online Mysore Foundations course, and you can find out more information about it on my website. Hope you can join me. Remember to comment. Love to hear what you have to say, and also subscribe to my channel.